y'all. This is Tanisha, also known as Crafty of Crafty Creations. And I just wanted to share something with my fellow crafty creators. I received a kit from a company called IKONART. It's a custom stencil kit. Comes in this box, looks just like this. And I have made a couple of items, haven't perfected it quite yet, but I've made a couple of items utilizing this kit and custom stencils. And it's really cool. I am used to like Cricut, silhouette, things like that, where you have to do a lot of weeding in the vinyl. And with the kit, this stencil kit, you can create something like this that normally with a vinyl cutting machine like a Cricut, you would have to weed all of these letters and all this detail. But with the stencil kit, we can just slap it on. It's awesome. I'm going to show you a few things. There's a couple of things I've done, a couple of things that I've made. Haven't quite perfected it just yet. I'm still in the learning curve, but I wanted to introduce this thing to y'all because I think it's really cool. Stay tuned. So let me show y'all a couple of the things I have done with this IKONART stencil kit. First of all, this is what your stencil is going to look like. It comes out on this little blue sheet or purple sheet, depending on if you are doing vinyl or regular vinyl, or it's a textile. If you're doing clothing, there are two different types of vinyl stencils for that. But a couple of the things I have done, and so sorry if this is offensive to anybody, but I'm in a group on Facebook called Sisterhood of the Traveling Spirits, and we sprinkle our fellow sisters with spirits, I guess, alcoholic beverage treats. And one of the ladies in our group did a sign similar to this, and I copied it. This one's a little crooked. Like I said, I'm still in that learning curve. But this is the type of stuff you can make with this kit. I did a few versions of my melanin lady. This one in black. Here's one in pink glitter. Of course, the sign. Here's one in the three colors of the African flag. I thought that was pretty cool. There's still some details I've got to work out and perfect this. One of the really awesome things you can do with this kit, I won't actually demonstrate it today, but as I perfect it, I absolutely will, because I want y'all to see how this works. I hope you can see this etching. I've got to perfect this a little bit more because it should be a little bit darker. But this is a fun little frame or little tabletop piece or decorative piece. These are my grandparents. They've been married 70 years. Their anniversary date for their 70th wedding anniversary was August 6th of last year. Forever and ever, amen, this says. And this I did with my stencil kit. That's kind of a look at what the stencils will look like. But what I'm going to show you is how I printed this stencil, how I created this project. Whoop, that side is the side y'all want. This project with my IKONART stencil kit. So let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is find a picture that we would like to print. I make some changes to my printer settings because you definitely want to print in dark black ink, and you're going to want to print or tell the printer that you're printing on a glossy paper. So changing the printer settings, we put our special printer paper into the machine. After making our changes, then we will print. This is the machine and how it looks. This black cardboard is used for exposing. All of this comes in the kit. And essentially, I'm just gonna plug this in, and that's how the light comes on. I'm going to expose the printed image for 30 seconds. I do a little bit longer, kind of depends on the stencil. And then I'm going to rinse in my kitchen sink. I do a little water bath first, and then the process of rinsing. This takes, for me, about 3 to 5 minutes. I think on average it should be about 3. I think it really depends on how I get my stencil exposed and how dark my printer ink turns out on the printing. But this is the process of rinsing. And as you can see, the blue parts are where the ink is going to be. All of that is rinsed clear. Now we need to dry it. I'm going to dry it off. Pat dry with paper towel is what I do. And then I actually hang it up to dry with a couple of clothespins. About 45 minutes. If I need it to go a little faster, I'll use a blow dryer. Okay, so once you have your stencil printed and exposed, washed, and dried, this is what you get. Okay, there's a backing on here. You see that plastic backing? This is the front. This is what we're going to paint onto our canvas. So I'm going to take what we printed, exposed, washed, and essentially created, and we are going to make something like this. Now, any of you that have used a vinyl cutter know what a pain in the derriere it is to weed when you have lettering like this. I tell you, if I don't do anything else with this stencil kit, but things like this, it's worth it to me, because weeding, when I have a project like this, especially something of this size and detail, this would take me forever to weed with tiny little tools, if you all have seen them, that are similar to what a dentist uses. Very, very intricate. I'm sure there's some things that you probably still have to use those cutters for. This isn't one of them. So I got these little dollar canvases. Dollar Tree carries them. Also, they have that little wood backing on them. This is just a flat one. So I just took a basic white canvas and created my stencil with my IKONART kit. And this is how it works. You peel the stencil off of the backing. That is, if I can get my little fingers to work. This is dried. Well, hello. Okay, so you're going to take your stencil and peel it off of the back. I generally will mark my sheet so that I can remember what side to put my stencil on, but since this one has words, it's pretty obvious what side it's going to go on, because you can see a little bit of the pattern there. Of course, the words would be backwards if I turned it the wrong way. But you take your stencil, and this is sticky. I'm going to position it onto my canvas where I want it. Okay, and I'm going to press it down. Now, one thing I did find in doing this stencil gets pretty sticky, and it started sticking to my newspaper and other stuff. So you definitely have to be careful with this. It is reusable. I folded mine under just to kind of help protect the canvas from the paint. I had to do it a couple of times before I got it just right. But one thing I have found is if I get this down nice and smooth, this turns out awesome. Okay, so stencil stuck. Gonna pick a paint color. Let's use purple. Haven't tried that one yet. And we are going to basically add paint to the stencil. Now, Icon gave me a nice little black squeegee that works wonderfully. And I took it into the kitchen while I was rinsing my last stencil and didn't bring it down. Since this one's sitting right here and I just remembered that, I'm just going to use this one. But they do provide you in that kit with a squeegee for this part. But I use a pretty good amount of paint and get that covered really, really well. And what I have found for myself is to let this dry for just a tiny bit before I go ripping it up. But I get the paint smoothed on, I remove any excess paint, but I'm gonna keep going over that because I want it a little bit darker. It's kind of looking pink more than purple. Remove the excess paint, and then I'm gonna let this sit for a couple of minutes so it can dry a little bit before I rip it up. And get rid of this excess paint. All right, and that is pretty much how I created that in a nutshell. Let's let it sit for a couple of minutes and I'll show you the finished product. Okay, now after I've let it set for a little bit and made sure that my paint's onto the canvas really well, you just peel up your stencil. And there pretty much is your creation. Now I folded that over a little bit. I'm gonna have to undo this, but I can rinse this. I can rinse this stencil upstairs in my kitchen, just like I did when I created this, and I can reuse it. I put it back onto the plastic that it was attached to. I'm gonna rinse it off and then put it right back on its plastic, the same side that I had it stuck on. So I'm going to sit this to the side for just a second so I can show you this. And then of course you can take your paintbrush, add some little lips, sprinkle it with glitter. That's what I did on this one. I put glitter on that one. See that shine, that sparkle on there? And I didn't have to weed this. I didn't have to weed it at all. You can look at this stencil and see the way it prints out. Now I just stuck these on plastic so that I could show you how they come, but this is stuck down. It would of course stick to the glass that I used, and they provide etching cream on their website as well for you to do the glass. So many things you can do with these stencils. I'm going to finish this up. I'll show you the finished result, and I'll show you a couple of the other things I made and what comes in the IKONART stencil kit. Okay, so this is the one that I just printed, that I just did. It's still a little bit damp. I added her little lips on there. And here are some that I had done previously with the stencil, and as you can see, you reuse it. This one I didn't have my stencil all the way dry. You can see my colors did a little funny bleed. I was moving too fast. But you can reuse these stencils over and over again. So this one I just added a little glitter, as you can see, but these are all the same stencil done in several different colors. Now I also mentioned a little bit ago, these are little chalkboard signs. Like I said, pardon the language if you're offended, it's meant to be silly. We've got some crazy stuff going on in our world right now, and laughter is definitely the best medicine. So these are little fun signs I made. I've got to put putting them, applying them, straightening them. It's all a part of that learning curve, kind of like it was when I got some of my other craft machines. But now that I have mastered how to actually print the stencils, I'm ready to go to town. This is etching. Showed you this a little bit ago. My grandparents and their 70th wedding anniversary. Cute little glass picture. Matching glass. You can see forever and ever on that glass there. Slide that up a little bit so you can see the etching on that. And this is the cream that you use with the stencil. Takes about 20 minutes to get this process complete, and you have glass etching with whatever stencil that you should print, whatever stencil you should choose. I really want to get good with this etching. But this IKONART stencil kit comes in this box. Okay, real pretty. You're going to get a squeegee in it, a clipboard, and I guess that's a squeegee too. They also have available, these are the stencil films. This is that blue film that actually turned into my stencil. They also have a textile film. This comes in purple, and this is for if you're going to use the fabric paint on material, fabric, of course. And you get your printer film, and this is what you use the exposure light for, to actually create your stencil. Of course, there's special things you have to do with your printer to make these work. It's just changing a couple of settings, very, very simple. But I use the inkjet because that's what I have. They also have laser printer paper that you would utilize. So everything that you need, including the light, is included in this kit. And I'm working to perfect exactly how to make this work much more efficiently. But this is what I've gotten so far. So I'm going to keep on practicing with my stencil kit and get better and better and better. And here in a couple of weeks, I'm going to come back and show you all some other things that I have created using my IKONART stencil kit. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Again, the name's Tanisha, also known as Crafty of Crafty Creations, LLC. You can find me on Facebook at Crafty Creates. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram, Crafty of KC, and right here on my YouTube channel. Check out IKONART Stencil. They're also on YouTube. They've got a few tutorials. You can see all the fabulous things that those products do. Check them out. Like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel right here for wonderful additional crafty creations. Thank you so much. Happy crafting.